Welcome to the Burnie Thompson Show. America's voice of freedom.
And a touch of razzle-dazzle.
You think the EPA has rights?
Yeah, to protect the environment.
Where does it get rights?
Where does it get rights?
Yeah, where do rights come from?
From the American government.
You big dummy.
Here's the danger. If you believe that human beings can give rights, then human beings can do what else? Take them away.
Man, he's got to be crazy.
Hey, Mr. Thompson, what's it like to be demented?
No. Cut me a little slack here, will you?
Burnie Thompson.
I'm just tapping away at a keyboard myself. I'm gonna recap what journalist Kelli Peacock Dunn just announced on our radio show. Liberty County Interim Sheriff Buddy Money asked her essentially to start a smear campaign against wrongly suspended Sheriff Nick Finch. Now, Money has been hostile to her, and she says she's worked happily with the sheriff's office for 15 years. Now, the interim sheriff, Buddy Money, was a campaign contributor to the State Attorney Willie Meggs, who has told Finch's attorney, this is war. Now, if you think this is worth sharing, will you go to our Facebook page, The Burnie Thompson Show, BURNIE, and share this with as many people as possible? Because you know I sat with Governor Rick Scott 3 weeks ago and shared with Governor Rick Scott face-to-face and his general counsel, Pete Antonacci, much of this kind of information. And their answer was, no biggie. We're just going to let, we don't see this as a problem. You don't see it as a conflict of interest, Mr. Governor? Well, we'll let the courts decide. Oh, yeah? We will let the people decide. Kelli Peacock Dunn, journalist for the Calhoun County Record. I cannot believe the way that Liberty County Sheriff's Office has been treating you ever since Sheriff Nick Finch, the elected sheriff in January, was arrested and suspended. It is shocking that the Willie Meggs' sheriff asked you to dig into Nick Finch's past.
He did. It was shocking to me, and I listened to him. I took down what he said, and I'm waiting for some big revelation on what I'm supposed to be finding, like this horrible thing about Nick. And
well, I hope I get it before you. I always say, if anyone can prove to me that Nick Finch is guilty of what he's charged of, whiteout. If anybody can show me that he's guilty, I hope I can break it before you do.
Well, to me, let's suppose he did do that. Is it really worth throwing him out of office for? That's my whole thing. I don't know what he did or didn't do. Or nobody, whoever was there at that moment, they are the only ones that know.
And think about this, Kelli.
It doesn't matter.
Think about this, Kelli. They have his charge. The reason that Nick Finch was arrested as sheriff, he was charged with destroying a document with corrupt intent. And the best we can find out was after he used his discretion and decided not to charge a man within his authority, the name of the man who entered the holding cell, as routinely as done, was whited out. And when FDLE asked their only witness, Sergeant Lisa Smith, did you put the whiteout on? She said, I don't remember.
I know there's no conclusive information there.
That alone is reasonable doubt. This is crazy.
Exactly. And, I have been here for 15 years, and I've seen some shady stuff before in the past that was way shadier than this, and never has this happened. And I'm just like, there's got to be more to this. There's a missing puzzle piece on the floor, under the couch, in the corner. There's something more to this than meets the eye, because it can't be just this. And I'm thinking, why are all the, and again, I want to reiterate, Tim, West, Kipper, I'm going to take that out of the equation. But this Buddy Money is so dead set on this guy, and I don't understand it. I don't know why he's inserting himself in this. He should be there neutral as an appointee, focusing on his job. And he has just inserted himself in this to the point he's screaming at me because he's so livid that I won't do what he wants me to do, and that I'm showing Nick out speaking and doing rallies and all this, and
that you're
he's
reporting the
angered by
news.
that for some reason. There's something more that's just not a normal reaction. If it is his normal reaction, he needs a mental evaluation because he's unstable. If that sets him off, something's seriously wrong.
We are talking with a journalist who was mistreated by the sheriff, interim sheriff appointed by Governor Scott, who is, I'll say it all the time, is a campaign contributor to State Attorney Willie Meggs. That is a conflict of interest. It's unacceptable. And now here's what I'm posting, and I'm writing, Kelly. I want to make sure this is accurate. I'm writing that journalist Kelli Peacock Dunn just announced on our radio show that Liberty County Interim Sheriff Buddy Money asked her to start a smear campaign against wrongly suspended Sheriff Nick Finch.
I wouldn't say that. He didn't ask me to start a smear campaign in those exact words. What his exact words to me were, and I'll be very specific, you need to be asking some questions, and these are the questions I'm going to suggest you ask. You need to call all his former employers. You need to go back to his days in Iowa and find out about it in there. You need to go back to his military records. I don't care if Nick Finch was the laziest soldier this country ever had serving in the armed forces. That does not matter to me, and I'm sure he was not. But what I'm saying is that's not relevant to this case. It's not admissible in court. I don't know what he wants. To me, it's a diversionary tactic. It's so typical of, okay, maybe this issue is not going to be enough, so we want to taint a jury pool by diverting their attention to some little blemish on his record from before. Whatever past Nick had, and everybody has a past, was not enough to disqualify him to run for sheriff. It did not disqualify him from being a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Florida. If that's the case, nothing in his past matters because he's not been accused of any other crimes or been arrested or anything like that. So why is he wanting me to divert everyone's attention and dig up all this stuff on Nick? You know, there's just so much.
I'll tell you what, if any of us had our most embarrassing moments splashed on the front page of the paper for something that has nothing to do with what we're charged of, what kind of we know what kind of country because it's becoming that kind of country. And again, do you commit, Kelly, as a journalist, that if you discover proof that Nick Finch, the sheriff who was arrested and suspended, is guilty of the crime he's charged with,
right,
you will report that, won't you?
Absolutely.
I
and
will
you can
too.
have his day in court. The other side's going to have their day in court, and whatever happens, happens. But to me, I don't understand this person who's there as the governor's appointee to do a job. Why is he diverting down these little trails that have nothing to do with him? It's not his job to spend his day trying to provoke me to dig up stuff on Nick. It's his job to be focused on law enforcement. And if you're in a situation where you got girls in the jail guarding men and being jumped and potentially setting themselves up to be gang raped and murdered, you got bigger trouble than worrying about Nick Finch in the military at 19,
Let's go into that one more time because people who missed that, since Sheriff Nick Finch has been removed and since the Willie Meggs' attorney, Buddy Money, campaign contributor to Willie Meggs, since he's been in office, he required a female jailer working alone without a gun to enter a cell filled with male inmates unarmed. Will you please describe again what happened to this female jailer who was required to do that? This is an unbelievable story.
She gets up 1 o'clock in the morning. She's got to enter a pod with guys. I mean, a room full of guys, not just one cell. She has to walk in to this cell and I guess do a head count to make sure they're all really asleep in their beds. And she walks in there with no radio. I don't know if she doesn't have a radio, if her radio is broken. I don't know. But she has no radio. She doesn't even have a taser. She doesn't even have pepper spray. She has nothing. She goes in there. She is jumped by this 21-year-old kid who already caused a disturbance at the Calhoun County Jail, allegedly. That's why he's over there. Jumps her in his attempt to escape, pushes her out the door into the hallway. The door slams. So all the other inmates are trapped inside. And fortunately, they were decent guys who wanted to help this poor woman. She's on the floor with a 21-year-old kid beating the crap out of her, choking her. They can't get her to her. And not only that, they're shaking the cells up like crazy, screaming, making as much of a ruckus as they can to try to alert the people in the next building in dispatch. No one hears their cries for help. She fights this man for 15 solid minutes. And you know, if you've ever even been in a fight with your brother, a fight is, a 15-second fight is a long time. But this woman's fighting a man for 15 solid minutes on the floor. She somehow miraculously gets control of the situation. It takes 10 minutes to get him into a holding cell. So 25 minutes for this ordeal to take place. She struggles, gets to her control room, gets to a phone, and calls over at dispatch and has to call them on the phone and tell them, send me some help. And then the cavalry comes, But it was a really bad, recipe for disaster over there.
You've worked with the Liberty County Jail for 15 years.
Yeah.
And since the I'll call it a wrongful arrest and wrongful suspension of the duly elected Sheriff Nick Finch in January, since that has happened and since Buddy Money has been appointed by Governor Scott, how have things changed? I mean, just in the way that your working relationship is going.
I'm not even going to mince words with you. The last administration hated my guts. They did not agree with my coverage of some investigations that they mishandled.
Which sheriff was that?
They hated my guts, but they never gave me any trouble over getting information. They still gave me, they followed the law. They were always courteous. We had a civil working relationship.
Yeah.
But
which sheriff was that, Kelly?
That was Donnie Conyers.
Okay.
And we didn't have any problems until his last year when there was a death investigation. There was a lot of shade on that. But I dealt with them through that process, and they were always courteous to me. They didn't like me, but they were courteous to me, and they gave me the information completely disclosed. They didn't hold anything back. But now, since Money came in, he started out nice. Like I said, he sat me down for 2 hours one Friday afternoon telling me, all about him and how check me out up and down, check me out. I don't have anything to hide. But here's what you should do. I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but here's some questions I think you ought to be asking, that kind of stuff. And so when I didn't comply with that, and now I call, and ask a public records request for this internal, this I guess he thinks is not going to make him look great, all of a sudden I get this cold shoulder, hostility, screaming in my face attitude, and then refusing to give me records. As a matter of fact, after this happened the other day, my standard jail log that I have gotten for 15 years, I have yet to receive for this week.
He ought to know better than to pick a fight with somebody who buys ink by the barrel.
That's right.
Kelli Peacock Dunn with the Calhoun County Record. Thank you for reporting on this, and thank you for being just direct and courageous about reporting on how you're being treated by the new regime.
I'll tell you what, Barney, stay tuned, because whenever I report on this story that I picked up on the internal, and that's going to take a little bit of digging on, it's going to be bigger than either one of these stories that we've talked about today.
Well, thank you very much for what you do. Thomas Jefferson said if he had a choice only between government or a free press, in order to be free, he would rather to have a free press. And there aren't enough. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right. I've tried to bring all of this information and more, specifically the conflict of interest. I sat face-to-face with Governor Rick Scott, and Governor Rick Scott thinks this is appropriate and okay. Now, we're still working on this. Governor Rick Scott and I promised each other when he got elected that we would do the right thing, that we would protect the Constitution together. And I expect that he will hold his word to that.
Hi, this is Governor Rick Scott. The Burnie Thompson Show does a great job explaining how we're getting Florida back on track. He really is Florida's voice of freedom. Burnie was my guest at the State of the State address, and I'm a frequent guest on his radio show. We even disagree sometimes on the air, but we always agree that together we're moving Florida in the right direction. Catch Florida's voice of freedom every day right here on the Burnie Thompson Show.
Governor Rick Scott, I'm going to hold you to that. We will move Florida in the right direction, but that requires that we fix the subverted election in Liberty County. We've got to restore that election. We've got to protect the office of sheriff, and we've got to defend a good man who is being attacked by the legal system that you oversee. Governor Rick Scott, we're asking you again.
You're listening to The Burnie Thompson Show.